Yes, indeed.
Mack engines from the Hagerstown facility arrive at the McCunchie plant, where they head to the start of the engine grooming line. It's here workers install the finishing parts and perform final inspections. Once cleared, they head to the engine install station. The Titan's MP10 super engine is lifted and ready for installation. This is a delicate dance. While these men reach into the chassis to clear cables and hoses, 1,300 kilograms dangle above their heads. It's a maneuver that takes timing and trust. And once the engine is in, the work at this station has only just begun.
We just drop the engine in, make all of our connections, you hook up your fuel hoses, horn hoses, and power steering, so the truck is all completely piped, and we're good to go to the next station.
The engine install on the Titan is almost complete. The only thing left to do here is to strap on the Titan's massive fuel tanks. At 443 liters each, a trip to the pump to fill these up could set you back $1,000 or more. Before the Titan moves on, Mike and Brian give the truck a once-over and catch a problem that could have proved disastrous down the line.
Okay, we found during a pre-engine drop inspection that the coolant filter for the Titan engine was damaged. It looked like it was over-tightened by our powertrain facility.
The crew changes out the filter and works to complete all the engine connections. Nearby, the Titan cab comes off the line right on schedule. It's picked up and brought over to the chassis line. It's time for these two Titans to meet. It's easy to see now that this truck has a very different profile than the others on the line.
The cab will sit about 7 inches higher than a normal highway truck. Most of that is because of the engine size. The first time I drove one out on the road, you pulled up to a red light and sitting next to you was another truck. You just tower over them.
Next up, the hood. But before they install it, they top it with a very special item.
Take a lot of pride in putting the Bulldog on. I mean, it's the trademark of Mack trucks, Bulldog Cup.
The history of this emblem dates back to World War I. Mack trucks utilized on the front lines were nicknamed Bulldogs by British soldiers, a reference to their toughness and to the resemblance of the truck's hood to an English bulldog's snout. Since 1932, every Mack driven off the line has had one of these little fellas leading the way.
It's a twofold purpose. For one, what enables us to open the hood is our hood grab handle, but as well as it's the icon that represents Mack and that bulldog toughness.
The Bulldog speaks to the history of the Mack name, but it also tells a lot about each truck. A silver dog means that one of the powertrain elements, such as the transmission, was made by another manufacturer. And a gold dog?
100% Mack motor and Mack transmission.
With the placement of the hood, this build enters the home stretch. But a ton of work is left before this truck can drive off the line. Next up, tires. The tire build facility is located adjacent to the chassis assembly line. Here, customers can choose from several different tire, wheel, and tread combinations. Every vehicle coming off the line is fitted with 10 or more tires, so to keep up with demand, the tire facility is partially automated. They load tires and wheels onto the assembly line, where they're threaded by a rotating arm. After inflation, they take a ride on a conveyor system and are delivered to the assembly line right on schedule. This Titan is going to be used for construction, so it needs wheels that are strong and light with both on and off-road capabilities. Each back-braking tire can weigh up to 59 kilograms, so the tire team has its own set of assists to help with the job. They sure beat the old technique.
This is just what they used to about 12 years ago, something like that. You put the tire to roll underneath the stick, all right, and then instead of having those cranes, you know, using it like that, you just put it on the tire like this, hold it, and then just use leverage to pop it up on the rim. It takes a lot of practice.
Once seated on the hub, it's time to lock these tires down. For that, the wheel crew calls in the big guns, the mother of all lug wrenches.
I mean, it's this big because each one has an independent drive, and it just pretty much tightens all of the lugs at the same time.
Driving 6 lugs at once ensures the tires get seated evenly on the hub. For a truck, tires dictate performance. Whether you're digging for traction on a muddy logging road, hauling huge payloads over open highways, or burning rubber on hot asphalt, the proper tire makes all the difference. It's race day at the Mason-Dixon Dragway in Boonesboro, Maryland. Craig and John are here to put their dragster to the test. With open admission today, all kinds of other vehicles show up to compete. But before their heat, Craig and John do some final checks.
You want to give her one last tech inspection?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay.
They worked hard to fine-tune their rig. But across the parking lot, another Mack has shown up. It's a big V8 that'll give the guys a run for their money.
Well, he's got bigger turbo, injectors, and the pump turned off.
Yeah, he's definitely got us on horsepower, but he doesn't know some of the tricks we know, I think.
Right.
Despite being outgunned, Craig and John are confident their new additions will give them an edge.
We went from 2 tires to this single wide tire. We took the air pressure down just enough so that we have a good balance between slipping the wheel on the rim and slipping the rubber on the pavement. So hopefully got her dialed in just right now after all this practice runs. I think we got a good chance. He's got 16.5 liters, we've got 12, but we've done a lot to our engine. We're going to push it pretty hard, and we're going to have fun either way.
It's race time. On the 402-meter track, competitors battle to see who is king of the road. Next up, the Macks. For the drag racing crew, it's all come down to this. Months of work and years of combined experience to coax 700 horsepower from the engine under this hood. But first, both trucks smoke their tires. It cleans the rubber for the race and heats it up for better traction. The powerful V8 takes the lead off the line. But down the stretch, it's no match for John and Craig's finely tuned engine. It's a come-from-behind win. A 402-meter trip in less than 16 seconds, reaching speeds of almost 160 kilometers per hour.
All right, man, good job.
Awesome, man.
How'd it go?
Cool.
Yeah,
He almost has.
He almost did.
That was close. That was great.
That's a good kind of racing right there.
That was a good race.
Today, hands-on experience and technical know-how proved a potent formula for coming out on top. Back at the McCunchy plant, another Mack truck nears the finish line. The tires are on, and this Titan build is almost complete. But as the end of the line comes into view,
Ronnie Baker.
Brian and Mike hit a snag.
Maintenance cleanup. I need a maintenance cleanup. That engine started on the H line. Got coolant leak on the floor.
Coolant from the engine is leaking out onto the factory floor.
Ronnie, it's Hawk. Hey, we're ready to engine start here. Can you stop and pick up Weaver? We need to pull a plug from up in the motor room to stop this engine.
To get the Titan off the line before it shuts down the assembly track, Mike and Brian will need to handle this on the fly.
Right now there's an open port on the back of the engine for coolant. We're going to try and plug it off. I got about 35 minutes to this truck is supposed to drive off the line.
They rig a length of hose as a temporary fitting. For now, it'll plug the port and keep the build in motion.
Now wait.
Mack prides itself on spotting any problems during the build. But every truck that rolls off the line gets double-checked in the dynamometer. A high-tech stall that simulates the incredible forces a Mack will face in the real world. They max out the RPMs and horsepower. Any problems with the build should show up here before they deliver the truck to the customer. With the engine port plugged, they fill the Titan with its fluids.
You're getting fuel, diesel fuel, you have the urea, and we're also about to charge the air conditioning as well. So all of your fluids, because we're about to start the engine, it'll be the first time we start this engine.
They add fuel to the Titan's massive tanks.
Gonna put air into the truck, push the fuel up, all the air out of the line to bring the fuel up to the fuel filter. And once the fuel gets up here, we'll be able to start this baby up.
Workers scramble to complete final installations. Everyone prepares for this Titan to take its first breath. With the turn of a key, 605 horses roar to life, and the truck rolls off the line. Another Titan is born.
6.5 hours ago, you had some steel and some connecting parts, and you have a fully drivable truck now. You'll ship off to the customer the next day.
The men and women here at Mack can be proud, knowing they had a hand in building some of the most powerful trucks ever to hit the road.